you were given a participation trophy for just showing up, and you got a closet full of them. A closet full of them. And you were told, if you just play by the rules, get a good grades in high school, and then go to a great college, or go to a college, even if you don't want to go to college anyway, and when you get out, there'll be an awesome job waiting for you. You were told that. And you graduated after the crash. And there was nothing there for you. Nothing there for you. No great job, no great anything. In fact, after 2008, there was no real recovery outside of cities at all. So what did you do? You had to move to a city, whether you wanted to live in one or not. You had to move to one. And when you moved to one, you couldn't live on your own, so you have at least one roommate. If you live in Manhattan or the Bronx or Queens, you have at least 2 roommates, if not 3 or 4. And if you don't live there, you live at home with your mom or your dad. There's very little ownership of people living around you. You probably don't own a car. If you do, maybe you lease one. You don't own a house. Very little ownership. And on top of that, your world is full of social media. And on social media, what do you see? Everyone is avatar, who looks so amazing, is having such a better time than you. They're all having a great time, but you aren't. So what do you feel like if you're that person? You feel like you were lied to. You feel like your future was stolen from you and that you were a victim of fraud. And when you believe that in your heart, and here comes Uncle Bernie, and he goes, hey, I'm going to give you a bunch of free stuff because you deserve it. You go, you know what? That sounds pretty damn good. Socialism sounds pretty good to you when you feel like you've been cheated or you feel like you've been lied to. Am I saying it's right? No, I'm not. I'm not a socialist. You know I'm not. You wouldn't be here if you thought I was. You know I'm not. All I'm asking you to do, those of you who are so angry, is to not assume that each person who believes that is a bad person. Is to assume that that person may have their own reason, their own logic, or there's stuff going in their head where they feel that they're righteous. They feel they're correct. If you accept that as true, what we cannot do is just yell, socialism is evil. That's not going to work. If anything, it pushes them deeper into socialism. Because it says, you don't get me, you hate me, so now that's the only answer. How do I know that? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is my representative. Yes, mine. My district.
Lucky you.
Thank you, yes. Exactly, yes. Exactly. I'll cover that question my Ray gets for in a moment. Yes, I said I'll cover that one too. But the reason why I'm saying I don't want us to simply say socialism is bad and the people who like it are selfish. That is not helpful. It's not going to turn them. And guess what? If we're going to change our state, if we're going to change our nation, we can't fight them. They have to join us. They have to join us. But they're socialists, and they're voting our rights away every single year, and us yelling at them is not helping. If you saw my campaign the last 2 years, all I did was try to actually give you real answers, real ideas on how to fix things. Real ideas that someone who is in trouble goes, oh, that guy's thinking about me. He doesn't just hate government. He says other ways of getting what I want to achieve in my life. This is what we have to focus on. Not ideology, but on actual solutions. To be clear, the entire country is going left. And for some of you who are not left, you're unhappy. Those who are left, you're happy. If you're not left, you're not happy about that. In fact, some of you will fight. It's not true, Larry. You're fooling yourself. Any single way you measure it, the country is going left. And the biggest reason, it's not socialism. The biggest reason is urbanization. It's the biggest reason. As people move to cities, they become more left. Why, Larry? Because we live on top of each other, and we mix cultures in one room. We mix cultures in one block. Anybody know how many people are in Binghamton? Population? 40-something thousand? Yeah, in 1 square mile of Manhattan, 60,000. 1 square mile of Manhattan, there are more people than the entire city of Binghamton. That's where we live. Yeah, you wind up coming left. You do. That's how it works. Why did that happen? Because there was no real recovery after 2008. No real recovery. Didn't really happen except in cities. You see it. If you live outside of a city, you see it. I'm not making this up. You all see it. It's across the country. So what does that mean? We have to be able to provide more solutions and more answers and real policies and real things to make people go, you know what? This is the right answer. Because the opposite is Trump. That's the opposite. Because when people are afraid, they make bad decisions. That's how it works. All of us have done it. We've been afraid, made bad decisions. How it works. When groups of people are afraid, they always clamor for one of two things: socialism or strongman. Both end up in dictatorship. Different roads to exactly the same place. Trump is the strongman. Bernie/AOC is socialism. So we're crying for. Trump also isn't the answer. People think one of the things about him: either he's going to eat our babies, he's going to destroy the world, which is not true, or he's the God King. Oh, hail Trump. Neither is true. Neither of those things are true, but that's where we go now. So you can't just say, Trump's evil, Trump's bad. That's not going to work either. That will just shift the people who support Trump further into Trump. Neither of those yelling either way work. The answer is finding real solutions, real answers. And the focus has to be on something important. And the focus is, will this actually make us happier? That sounds, I know, kind of rainbows and unicorns and cool things like that, I know. But let's not forget something very important that I'm the only one ever talking about. This country, our founding documents, are built on life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've forgotten all three of those. Right? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. When's the last time you heard a Democrat or Republican talk about happiness? I talked about it all the time. All the time. And I'll ask you guys this question. What's the one thing, one physical thing, or one item or idea that I could give you right now, this moment, that would make you happy today and 10 years from now? Yeah, nothing. There's no way I can do that. It is impossible. Even if I happen to know exactly what will make you happy right now, this moment, and I could physically give it to you, 10 years from now, it wouldn't be true. There'd be something else that would change in your life. Not just that giving it to you is great, it wouldn't make all them happy, because they want something else. When you realize and accept that it's true, how can government make you happy? It can't. How can socialism make you happy? It can't. How can the God King make you happy? He can't. But what can I do? I can create an environment that, to the best of my ability, I allow you to pursue happiness the way you want to pursue it, to the best of your ability. And in reality, many of us who've achieved happiness, some of us have, some of us haven't, happiness can also be fleeting. You can find it and then lose it. You can chase it for a year, you can chase it for 2 years, 10 years, 20 years. You might keep it for a month, you might keep it for 10 years, you might still lose it. And guess what? That's what it is to be human. And the people who started our country knew that, and that's what it didn't say you have a right to happiness. You have a right to the pursuit of happiness. They were philosophers and they knew it. I know it too. And in your heart, you know it. For some of you, the journey is more important than getting there. For some of you, it isn't. And guess who should judge that? You, not me. The glory of the liberty movement, the glory of the Libertarian Party, it is the only party that discusses that. The only party that understands and assumes automatically that you know you better than I know you. That's the assumption. And the only way I get agency over you is if you voluntarily want me to. If you want me to have agency over you. You say, yes, I would like you to tell me what to do. Fine, I can. The piece that many liberty lovers fail to understand is not everybody wants to be free. We get mad at them. Don't you want to be free? Maybe they don't. Say it again.
They're afraid.
Yes, and that's okay. I don't mind, look, to be frank with you. The Amish can survive in the libertarian world. It's voluntary socialism. You can leave the Amish if you want to. You can join the Amish if you want to. It's up to you. Right? But Larry, you say they can voluntarily give up our rights? Of course we can. I did the Marine Corps for 7 years. I give my rights for 7 years. I volunteered. People check themselves into rehab. You're giving up your rights. You're volunteering. People do it all the time. People get married. Give us some of your rights and you do that too, right? People do it. Yes, all the time. People do it. And I don't have a problem with that as long as you choose. The glory here is not that I decide whether you should be free or not. The glory is that I allow you to pick the decision and you give up as much as your agency as you choose to give up. A fight I get all the time is, well, libertarians don't understand that people are social. True. I actually am not against socialism. I'm against involuntary socialism. So if you want to give your money to a church or a civic group and allow them to spend it any way you want, if you want to give them all your money, all your agency to some other association or group or church or clergy, your choice. That's socialism. Good for you. If that makes you happy, go ahead. But government shouldn't say what is right, what is wrong. Now go to the next piece here. For some of you who've been part of the movement for a while, some of you maybe not. If you're new to libertarianism, here's what you may realize and may be surprised about. Man, do we fight a lot. We fight a lot. We really fight a lot. And you might say, well, how can we have a party if we fight all the time? There are two very important reasons why we fight. And it's valuable, and I'm happy that we fight. Two reasons why. Number one, we actually have principle to fight over. We actually have principles to fight over. Now, those of you who have some gray hair here, like me, you know, you remember something here, and that is, think if you would about about a Reagan Republican versus a Bush Republican versus a Trump Republican. Different Republicans. If you're old enough, remember a Carter Democrat versus a Clinton Democrat versus an Obama Democrat. Different Democrats. Why? Because the other two parties aren't parties. And for you Republicans in the room, I apologize, but you don't have a party. You have a tribe. The Democrats and Republicans are tribes. And why they're so different? Because when the warlord on top of the tribe changes, the tribe changes. The definition of the tribe is the warlord. That's why such thing as a Trump Republican or a Reagan Republican. But a libertarian is the same. I can call myself King of Libertarians if I want to, and I'll be laughed off the stage. Because whatever I call myself doesn't matter. The principles matter. So we argue over them. Of course we do. Of course we do. But there's something else. I was asked on many TV shows, one of them, I put the video up, they asked me, Larry, what does it mean to be libertarian? What's libertarian? And my answer was, a libertarian says you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want to be, just don't force others to be like you. Just don't force. But Larry, so I can't say I don't like it? No. There's no PC police in our party. That is why we fight so much. So I can tell you what you're doing is bad or wrong, I disagree. Which is why we also fight. Because people will tell you the Libertarian Party is kind of physically conservative but socially liberal. It's not actually true. That's kind of how the party winds up becoming as a whole generally. Policies become close to that. That's true-ish. But the individuals in our party, some of them are staunch conservatives, some of them are staunch liberals. The difference is they don't want to use force. That's the only common denominator. Which means I'm going to say things like, I don't like what you do. I don't like it. It's wrong. You shouldn't do it. And I have every right to do so. And him and I will fight over whether we should or shouldn't. And we'll argue over it. But if we're both libertarians, here's a key piece. The end of that argument never ends in a policy or law or regulation that stops us. There is the key piece. It doesn't end in that. Where does it end in? You're a jerk. Or you're not really libertarian. It ends in one of those two things, right? It ends in you're a jerk or you're not a real libertarian. It doesn't end in, so let's enact a law to stop you. That's not how it ends. But that's why we fight. Because what I want to do is I want to convince him without coercion. I want to convince him without violence that I'm right. Because the other glory of the Libertarian Party is, when you join the Libertarian Party, you can actually change culture. Because there is no coercion. If I force you to not do something, you still want to do it. If I convince you to not do it, you don't want to do it. Culture has changed. There's a gentleman who's very prominent in our party. He always asks this question. He says, Larry, he asked me this question. I got the answer right, by the way. He said, Larry, what is the best defense against violence? You know, about me hurting you. He says, most people will say things like, my gun, my fist, whatever. I said, no, having a culture where people don't want you. He said, yeah. If people don't want to use violence, they won't bring the violence. Right? We'll just pass a law. There's been laws against murder for how many thousands of years? Yet somehow we still murder? Somehow we still murder? Changing culture is what we're all about. So for those of you who want to join this movement and who are part of this movement, please stay. It's the reason why I'm still going. One of the biggest questions I get is, Larry, why are you still talking? The election's over. Why are you still talking? The election's over. Why are you still talking? Well, let me tell you why. And I know this is Republicans, Libertarians. And for you Republicans, I want to say I feel bad for you. For you conservatives, I feel even worse for you. If you're a conservative in this state, you don't have a party. I'm not joking, you know it. The conservative party in this state does not exist. It literally didn't even put up someone to primary the Republican to bring the Republican further right. Didn't even do that. Knowing it wouldn't win. Didn't even try to do that. It did nothing. It closed its eyes and went, okay, fine. Doesn't exist. So if you're a conservative, you don't have a party. So why would you care about libertarians? Because here's the best thing. We are not perfect conservatives. We aren't. It's true. But here's the one thing we will give you more than anything else. We respect you. We respect you. Republicans take you for granted. That's not respect. Democrats blatantly told you to leave the state. Remember that? No room for conservatives in New York State. Remember what His Majesty King Andrew II said? Remember what His Majesty said? He literally said, no room for you in this state. What do libertarians say? Lots of room, please stay. We want you. Be as conservative as you want to be. What did I speak out to in my campaign? I spoke about the idea of home rule, letting counties be counties and cities be cities and regions be regions, allowing people to be conservative if they want to be conservative, or liberal if they want to be liberal, letting people be who they want to be. I'm still going because that's the only way to fix New York State. I said there are two tribes, right? The tribes aren't getting closer, they're getting further apart. You see it? Now we're dating within whether we're Republican or Democrat. That's a new thing if you haven't seen that. Conservative liberal dating now. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. I had a farmer, I tell the story often, but it's an important one to say. I had a farmer last year, comes to me, he tells me a story about how he's getting ready to lose his farm. 6 generations this farm's been in his family. 6 generations. He's in debt, gonna lose his farm. You know what his first question to me was? What do you think about Trump? Just think about that. He's going to lose his farm that's been in his life, his family, for 6 generations. There wasn't one candidate, with the exception of me, who spoke about farmers at all. I was the only one who had answers for farmers. No one else did. He didn't ask my policy on farmers. He didn't ask how I could help him. He asked what I thought about Trump. Because in his mind, that would put me on one side or the other, and he could trust me or he couldn't. That's where we are right now. I keep going because the liberty movement is the only way that says you can join my movement and you don't have to convert. You don't have to. You can still be liberal, you can still be conservative, and we will respect you completely. And we will defend your rights to the best of our ability. And the best example I can give you is you guys all know that I was the only candidate that was pro-2A. I was the only candidate that supported our right to bear arms. Yep. I was the only one. There was other candidate that except me. I was the only one. I was the only one who had an actual plan to repeal the SAFE Act, which, by the way, is starting to happen already in Western New York, in case you hadn't seen that. Already starting to happen. Right? We just had a victory yesterday. Was it yesterday? What was the victory? Yes. Yesterday. We just had a victory yesterday on somebody getting a SAFE Act overturned. A commission overturned. Already happening. By the way, that lawyer is literally a libertarian. Said it again. That lawyer is a libertarian. He is a righteous libertarian who comes to my events and supported me. That lawyer is not a Republican or conservative. Libertarian. Republican Party is nothing for 2A in this state. Zero, not a thing. I supported him. I don't own a firearm. Said it again. I live in Queens, New York City. I'd be a fool to own a firearm. I don't own a firearm. Yet I staunchly supported the Second Amendment. Why? Because it's your rights, and your rights matter to me. Whether it affects me or not is irrelevant. It is irrelevant. Your rights matter to me. I was the only one trying to fix family court. Remember that? No one's about family court. Only me. I was the only one going to the actual family rights events. I was the only one to follow those rights events. I was the only one doing that. People ask me the same question. Larry, my God, how bad was your divorce? How bad was your story? I'm not divorced. I didn't go through it. I don't know what it's like. Why did I support them? Because your rights matter. That's the reason. Because it matters. It's irrelevant whether it affects me or not. We are the only party, the only movement that will do that again and again and again and again. We will keep doing it. That's why this matters. This will keep us together. If we change New York, we change the nation. So I'm still going. Because again, if you're a conservative, you don't have a party. What if you're a Republican? If you're a Republican and you support a Republican candidate, either via money or votes or whatever you did, you literally took your time, money, and energy and threw it in the garbage. I'm not joking. You took your time, your money, and energy, and you literally put it in the garbage and threw it out. Or flushed the toilet, same thing. Why? He lost, as you knew he would lose, as everyone else knew he would lose, and none of his policies were put into any play. Why? They were never real policies because he was never going to win. So they were never real. So you haven't heard of any of them since the election's over. Right? Where's new policy talked about? Gone. They were never real in the first place. Of course they weren't. And nothing's changed. In fact, the states got bluer. You literally threw your money and time in the garbage if you supported the Republican candidate last year. What if you supported my campaign last year? Well, some of you wearing my cool shirt, thank you. What if you did that? That is correct. You actually did an investment. You invested. Your money was an investment. It's still paying off. And it's paying off in 3 specific ways right now. Number 1, as I said, support the SAFE Act. If you those who remember, my entire plan for the SAFE Act was to begin non-enforcement. What's happening in Western New York right now? They're not enforcing it. Yes, this is what's happening. Initially, it was on the idea of not enforcing the 7-round magazine issue, right? That was the first piece. Now you have sheriffs now throughout Western New York saying, you know what? I'm doing none of it. I'm not going to enforce it at all. If we can now just get the rest of the states to start copying that, yeah, what I talked about is being used. Some of you guys remember my ideas about leasing out naming rights for bridges and tunnels. Remember that idea to raise money? DC and Florida are now thinking about the exact same things. If that happens there, they'll bring it up here. Again, you invested in it. It's still here. Not just that. Talk about fixing the MTA. Some of you may not care about the MTA in New York City. You should, because you're paying for it. So you should. The MTA is a $16 billion disaster that only makes $10 billion. So we as a state give them $6 billion every year. Some of that's your tax money. So by the way, thank you for fixing my subway. Thank you. Thank you. Michael, thank you for your input. Thank you. Yes. Yes, thank you for what you're doing, right? So what did I do? I said, we have a massive system to where in the MTA in New York City, it costs us 4 times the amount to fix a mile of track than any other city on the planet. 4 times. I said, why in the world aren't we going to other major cities that have unions like we do, that have safety issues like we do, and figuring out what they're doing and copying? It isn't rocket science. We can figure this out. And we are. For those of you who have been paying attention, the L line in New York City was supposed to be shut down. It's not now. Why? They figured out London has a different way of doing something. They copied that idea, and now it's only delayed nights and weekends. Still bad, but way better than shut down. Way better than shut down. So everything that you supported me, thank you. It's still working. I'm still here. But not just that. To your point, we gained ballot access. The Libertarian Party is now a party in New York State. And you might say to yourself, well, why do I care? I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican. Maybe you don't want to become a Libertarian. Maybe you don't. No worries. Here's the thing you have to remember. A strong Libertarian Party makes better Republicans and better Democrats. The Democrat Party is supposed to be about civil liberties. It's not. They're supposed to be about that. But when a Libertarian Party now has the option to say, hey, we care about civil liberties too, now a Democrat has another option. They can go to us versus a Democrat when it comes to civil liberty issues. It will force Democrats to actually care about civil liberties, or they'll lose a chunk of their base. Republicans are supposed to be about smaller government, less taxes. They're not. They're supposed to be. When our Libertarians are, what will happen? If they don't start doing that, we provide the other option. We are the referee for both parties. We are the other option for people on the side. So you should still want a powerful Libertarian Party, whether you choose to change or not. Please choose to change. I want you to register Libertarian. Please do so. It matters for us, right? And something to be forward with you about. Prior to the election last year, there were less than 10,000 registered Libertarians. And we only know that because we only had other. So we had to guess how many of those other Libertarians. There were about 10,000 of those. So some of those Libertarians, a bunch were, we were guessing about 8,000 were that. That's a guess. So there were around 8,000 registered Libertarians last year, give or take. We don't know about that. Now, there are already another 10,000 actual Libertarians registered, plus 10,000 from before. We've doubled in several months already. And that was since February. And now it's already almost May. Who knows how many? We're getting more and more and more. Our goal is 100,000 this year. That begins to happen, we're a party forever. For those of you who haven't figured this out, the Libertarian Party is here to stay. We are never going to lose ballot access, ever. Never going to happen. I promise that right now, never going to happen. How do I know that? The Greens only have about 20,000 or so registered Greens. About 20,000 or so. And they're in for good. We're going to have far more than that by the end of the year. We only have 50,000 votes. We only have 50,000 votes every single gubernatorial cycle. We'll easily make that. Some of you may say, but Larry, you only got 100,000 votes. Let me be clear about something. I got far more than 100,000 votes. Far more than 100,000 votes. How do you know that? Let me tell you why. There's over 100,000 voided / blank ballots. Over 100,000. So you tell me over 100,000 people came to vote in a gubernatorial election, non-president, and said, you know what, I'm not going to vote for? Governor. That's what I'm not going to vote for. But man, I care about this judge. Never going to happen. Here's what actually happened. Two things. Number one, I was the only candidate who was on a second column. You saw that. Only everyone else, right? Some of the machines couldn't read that. That became blank or void. Not just that. I was the only candidate that had someone else next to him. I had Stephanie Miner next to me. So what happened? People thought Stephanie Miner was my lieutenant governor, and they circled both. What's that? Voided vote. So I got far more than that. So keep that in mind. For those of you, I tell you this not because I want you to go crazy. I tell you this because I want you to feel warm and fuzzy about what we did. We got more. We didn't win. I'm not trying to say that, oh, we really won the election. No, I'm not saying that. They didn't steal the election from me. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is you, for those of you supporting me, you should feel warm and fuzzy about that. We actually had at least 200,000 votes, maybe even more. Maybe 300,000, maybe 400,000. But we got a bunch of votes here. We made real impact, and that's a lot. So why am I still going? Because the ideas that I talked about are still moving forward. Because ideas I talked about are still valid. Because this state needs a real strong Libertarian Party to fix this state. If this state changes, the entire nation changes. But I want to be very clear about this. Cato ranked New York the least free state in the Union. We beat California. Yeah, take that, California. We beat California. Yes, we did.
Disgusting.
Yes, it is. So if we actually change New York State, the entire nation will change. And that's what I'm looking for. I want real change. Why do I bring it up? Because you asked a very important question. You said, Larry, why won't you run against AOC, right? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is my congressperson. Why wouldn't I run against her? People tell me all the time, Larry, run for this, Larry, run for that, Larry, run for this. The goal was never to win something. That wasn't the goal. The goal was to make impact and have a better state selfishly so I don't have to move.
I know.
Yes, you know it. You know it. I don't want to be in a place where everyone I know leaves my state. I don't want to be in that world where I want to leave my state. I want to leave my state. I don't like that. I want to make impact and change. And running for something local like that, is it really going to make impact in New York State? No, not really, even if I won. But here's the worst part. For those of you who know how I ran in my campaign, I began my campaign because I was angry. Some of you may remember the story. I was thinking about leaving New York State. I was actually going to go down to Charlotte, North Carolina. I was looking at houses down there and realized I could sell my house in Queens and buy a mansion. Maybe 2 mansions in North Carolina, right? And pay less taxes, right? And my house in Queens, if you guys know Queens, I live like in a row house, right? My house, my property is 20 feet wide. Not 20 yards, not 20 acres, 20 feet wide. My house is thinner, narrower than this room, right? And I could sell that house in Queens and buy 2 in North Carolina. So what happened? I got angry, and I came home and I said, I'm going to change things. So I ran. Now, why does that matter? Because the first thing I did was I wrote myself a check for $10,000. And I took a year and a half off. So if you don't know this, I was the only candidate last year who was not getting a government check. Everybody else was. either retirees or they were actively part of the government, right? They were executive or governor. The only government except for me. It's the only one who wasn't doing that. The only one who actually knew what it was like to work like regular people and to fight and to struggle. I took a year and a half off with no salary. I have a wife who does not work, 2 kids, I live in New York City. You can imagine my bills. Imagine what your finances would be like. But I did that. I did it on purpose. I wanted to show you that I would put my time and my money and my energy into something. I would never ask you to do something I wouldn't do myself. So again, to your point, why would I run when I can't make impact? If I run, I'm going to ask all of you yet again for money, for time, for everything. I'm going to give my own time, my own money, so I can lose and make no impact? Makes no sense to me. If I run again, I will run where I think I can make impact. Because if I run again, I'm going to ask you all to do the same thing. I'm going to write myself a check again. I'm going to ask you all for money again. I'm going to take my time off again. I'm going to ask you all for your time again. And I'm not prepared to ask that of you unless I do it for myself. And I don't want you to invest or me to invest unless it's an investment. I don't want you to throw me away for nothing. That doesn't make any sense. I'm a business guy. That's how I think, right? I don't think about let's just make impact on something. No, let's make real impact or let's not bother. Does it make sense? Does that answer your question at least? So that's why I'm not going to run just for anything. I will run if I think I can make impact. Not just that. Right now, I'm still making impact. I'm doing this. People still show up. I'm not running for anything. And people still come. And people still listen. And people still watch my videos. And people still see me. I did a Bob Lonsberry show out of Rochester. He asked me to do his show. I did his show for 4 hours on Wednesday and on Thursday. I did Shannon Joy's show last Monday for an hour. So now I'm on. Glenn Beck called in. John Stossel called in. These are people who are paying attention and they care. They want to hear what's happening. I'm still making impact. I'm getting my message out to other people outside of just the libertarian echo chamber, right? We're getting outside of the echo chamber. That's what we need to do. So that's what I'm doing right now. That's where I can make that impact. That's where I keep going. So I'm not done. I want you all to know that I'm not done. We're moving forward. There is hope. But I'm also doing something else. You guys know I am a Marine, which means I'm all about creating more leaders. Right? The captain gets shot, we have to take the hill anyway. I need more leaders. I need more of you stepping up. I need more of you doing the right thing. I need more of you joining the party, supporting candidates, running for office, and doing all the things that we need to get done. We need a bigger, stronger infrastructure in this party. New York State, we can do it here in New York State. How do I know that? I'm doing it. I am literally going from party to party. You see me doing it. If you're watching what I'm doing, I'm literally going to each. I was the only candidate who went to all 62 counties. Every single county I went to. And there was a reason behind that. I wanted to make sure every county knew I cared. And when the campaign was over, they go, you know what? Let's build out a Libertarian Party in that county. Before we started the campaign, we had about 18 out of 62 counties that had Libertarian presence. Now it's 42 out of 62. Over doubled. And it's still going. So that's why I keep doing this. It's why I keep going. It's why it matters to me. I don't want to have to leave this state. I don't want to move. I don't want you to leave. And many of you are. Sadly, my goal, I would love for New York to be a place to where you're born here, you go to school here, you get a great education, you get a good job, you start a family here, your kids go to school here, you retire here, you spend your pension here, which is not happening. You spend your pension here, and then you start a business here because your pension's so good, and your kids stay here. That'd be awesome. And you bring your friends here because the state's so awesome. That'd be great. That's a fantasy. The reality of it is, you're born here, and you struggle here. With the current education system, if you can afford tutors, or you can stay home with your kids will do well. If not, they'll struggle. I know my kids all have tutors, otherwise they can't do well. Because of Common Core and every other rule and regulation we have, right? Of course, that's how it works. Then when your kids go through high school, if they're not all about college and they'd rather do something other than college, they are basically bullied by the establishment to go to college anyway. They go to college anyway, even though they don't want to go to college. They spend 6 years in college and struggle. They get a degree that has zero value, that's regulated by the Board of Regents, and has absolutely no actual value in the workforce. I know some of you get mad about that, but it's sadly true. How to know that? I make a living by training adults. That's what I do. I'm a consultant. I train leadership, management, networking. It's what I do for a living. It's how I pay my bills. I survive in New York City doing this. Some of the best colleges in the country are in New York City. I train them. I shouldn't. The colleges should train them. But I have to. I spend half my time breaking what the colleges taught them. I'm not even joking. Half my time breaking what the colleges taught them. So then you struggle. You're $100,000 in debt, and you have to have 2 or 3 roommates, and you work at Starbucks, or you're a barista. So you pack up and you leave. Your parents stay here for 1 or 2 reasons. They have a pension job because they work for the state in some way, shape, or form, or they have an elderly parent. One of those 2. Elderly parent passes, and they retire, then they pack up and they leave. That's New York now. It's so bad that it's even affecting New York City. New York City is now losing population. That wasn't happening before. Now even New York City is losing population. And who has any answers for any of that? No one who was running. No one had even one answer. Nothing. It's weather. You're right. I'm sorry. It's the weather. So maybe we should invest in the weather machine. Maybe that's the new thing.
The medical tyranny is driving people away who are willing to stay even through the tax issues,
Yep.
the bad weather, the Second Amendment infringements. Medical tyranny with the forcing things on people's body is what will cause me to leave.
Yep.
And plenty of people I know who are more liberty-oriented / conservative, and then the state's even in worse
100%.
shape than it is now.
The state is making no attempt to keep you. None. The state is making no attempt to keep you at all. And the governor, to be fair with you, doesn't care. He's totally happy if you leave. Because who's leaving? People who wouldn't vote for him. So he's really okay. He's not mad about that. He's like, oh, you're leaving? Good. He doesn't care. How can he care if you realize something? We've lost over 1 million New Yorkers in the last 8 years. Over 1 million. Gone. We lost almost 200,000 last year. There was 175,000, I think, last year. Almost 200,000 last year. Gone. Who even mentions that? Does he even say it's a problem? Does he even bring it up? Is it in any state of the state? Never has been brought up. So you are correct, and he doesn't care. Both are true.
He's making it a sanctuary state. And
Happy to do it.
All illegals up here.
Happy to do it.
To vote.
Happy to do it. Not concerned.
It's tax dollars.
Which is why you will hear me often do things like this. You will never hear me talk about the constitutionality of something. Because the average New Yorker doesn't care about that. Falls on deaf ears. I don't use it. I talk about it, can it make people happy? What is the outcome that we can focus on? You're totally correct. So I want to say thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. I'm glad that you're here. I'm open for questions. Thank you so much. So now that you know that I'm here, I'm happy to take any questions you like. Please go ahead.
I've been thinking about this because I haven't seen you in a